Nationalism, at its core, represents a shared identity that unites various communities through reverence and pride. This collective sentiment often arises from common geographical and cultural elements that foster unity. Communities embracing this shared identity typically resist external influences or cultural integrations, giving rise to political ideologies that align with these sentiments. Such ideologies often form the foundation of a community's sense of nationalism. However, nationalism is not without its complexities. By nature, it is a narrow worldview, prioritizing certain classes, cultures, or traditions over others. This exclusivity often leads to intolerance. A crucial question arises: how do diverse communities develop a shared sense of identity? The formation of this collective consciousness generally follows two primary pathways. One, claims of being the inheritors of an ancient civilization linked to a specific region. The emergence of a collective identity through a recent socio-political renaissance tied to regional developments. In the Indian context, nationalism intertwines these two strands. On one hand, it is deeply rooted in India's ancient cultural heritage, and on the other, it draws inspiration from the nationalist movements of the freedom struggle. While these perspectives may seem opposing, their fusion has created a complex and, at times, distorted form of nationalism that prevails in India today. The Partition and its impact on nationalism. The Partition of India in 1947 was a tragic event that deeply reshaped nationalist thought. Initially, Indian nationalism was fueled by a collective aspiration for freedom among people discontented under colonial rule. From the outset, there was a disconnect between India's geography and ethos and the colonial systems that were imposed. This discontent intensified as colonial powers expanded their authority, uniting diverse and fragmented communities against a common oppressor. This unity marked a pivotal moment, showcasing India's capacity to surprise the world with collective action driven by nationalist propaganda. As the freedom struggle gained momentum, confidence in its success grew. However, internal ideological conflicts also emerged, particularly regarding who had rightful claims to the idea of Indian nationalism. These conflicts sowed seeds of division along caste, class, and religious lines. A prominent example of this was the Hindu nationalist movement, which emphasized connections to ancient Hindu culture and Vedic traditions. This rhetoric alienated Islamic and Dalit communities, prompting them to form counter-movements. Despite these divisions, many Islamic and Dalit organizations collaborated with Mahatma Gandhi's broader freedom movement, viewing colonial rule as a shared enemy. In stark contrast, Hindu nationalist groups distanced themselves from these collaborative efforts, treating them with disdain. The road to partition. As India's freedom movement neared its final stages, the rift between Hindu and Islamic groups grew deeper. This division led to Muhammad Ali Jinnah's demand for a separate Muslim state, citing insecurities in a Hindu-majority India. The resulting tensions escalated into widespread communal riots, exacerbated by the colonial strategy of divide and rule. These developments made partition inevitable. Even Mahatma Gandhi, who had long opposed the idea, reluctantly accepted partition as unavoidable. The joy of independence was overshadowed by the bitterness of division and the horrors of communal violence. Gandhi's subsequent assassination by Hindu extremists symbolized the devastating consequences of these ideological divides. Rediscovering ancient histories. Alongside these political upheavals, the subcontinent saw significant advancements in the study of its ancient history. The discovery of the Harappan civilization near present-day Pakistan revealed a sophisticated culture that predated Vedic traditions. This finding challenged the Vedic-centric narrative promoted by Hindu nationalists who dismissed such discoveries as colonial propaganda. Post-partition, archaeological research in both India and Pakistan has continued to uncover ancient sites of immense historical importance. However, political hostilities have hindered collaborative historical exploration. The nationalist fervor that once united the subcontinent against colonial rule has devolved into mutual distrust and hostility. In India, denigrating Pakistan, the birthplace of ancient Indian civilizations, is now often equated with patriotism. This skewed perspective reflects how nationalism has been distorted over time, a shared heritage, and a common future. The reality is that the two nations, divided by religion for only about 70 years, share a history that spans over 7,000 years. This common heritage cannot be ignored indefinitely. The people of the subcontinent share a legacy of cultural, historical, and social achievements. Just as they united against colonial oppression in the past, it is not inconceivable that they may rise together against contemporary divisions fueled by religious and political ideologies. The history of the Indian subcontinent has seen cycles of division and unity, of conflict and rediscovery. The current phase of division, driven by nationalism, distorted into intolerance and mistrust, is merely one chapter in a much longer narrative. The people of India and Pakistan, and indeed the entire subcontinent, have the potential to rediscover their shared identity and work together toward a harmonious future. History has seen such resurgences before, and may yet witness them again.